More Momir Basic. This time it's against Sasha 24601. And this is another one of those interesting games. I'll come right out and say that my opponent has to leave this game a little bit early and concedes, but this is another one where I was pretty sure I was going to lose, but then some interesting things happen to make it more of a game. So here's this Rune-Tail Kitsune Ascendant. If you're having a hard time reading it, I don't blame you. When I have 30 or more life, he flips, and when he's flipped, prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures I control. He's from the Kamigawa cycle of creatures that flip into enchantments. And if you're unfamiliar with flip, it was basically transform before there was transform. But as it stands right now, he's just a 2-2, and I need to gain 6 life net to make him not that. So now he's got a Grinning Ignis, and this guy can be really, really good because he gives you +2 mana if you return him to your hand. So yeah, he can help you ramp into some pretty big stuff a lot earlier than you would expect. Obviously, you'd prefer to have a Green Weaver or something that gives you consistent mana, but any way you get there is good enough, right? This is just a 2-2 flyer. It gets bigger if it's targeted. We don't care. So he gets another creature, deciding to save the Ignis. At this point, I'm kind of hoping he doesn't realize how good it could be. Whereas I'm just getting creatures. They don't really do anything. Like, they're just guys. Don't worry about their abilities. Because now, at first, let's stop for a sec, because I was worried. If you may remember, I wrote an article about the Tyrant, talking about how somebody somewhere is going to end up like sacking 8 or 9 creatures to him and rage quitting online. Fortunately, that didn't turn out to be me. This time I sacrificed 1 land, which is the swamp, and I played another one. So I turned out okay for a 7-drop. But it does mean I only get to make a 5, and my 5 also gets rid of one of his lands. So I guess it's kind of fair. He does play a Plains instead of taking pain damage, but his 5-drop didn't really matter, and I just went ahead and triple block that guy because I don't need to see a 7/7 for very long. It was suggested that I maybe should have blocked with the Rune-Tail instead of the Angel, but I didn't. I just kept him there. And now I've got Teneb the Harvester, 6/6 flying. His ability is irrelevant here. He gets the Mephidros Vampire, who can be pretty good when you've got enough guys. Creatures you control are vampires in addition to their other types, and when they deal damage to a creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So his guys can get big pretty fast with that. Fortunately, that Mer prototype is not likely to ever attack with a bunch of +1/+1 counters. Okay, let's go ahead and look at Hazon, or Hazazon, whatever. The next turn, I'm going to get a 1/1 Sand Warrior creature token for each of the lands I control. And when he leaves the battlefield, I have to exile those tokens. So I'm going to get a bunch of creatures next turn. Makes me wish I had a Mephidros Vampire, but whatever. I guess they wouldn't have really survived anyway. So this Guardian Sphinx was really giving me migraines because it's just so big, and with the Mephidros Vampire, I can't afford to just Alpha Strike with dudes. So I go ahead, try to see if I can get a drop that'll answer one of his guys. And I get an Ebony Rhino. Like, that's pretty much a whammy. It's 4/5 creature with trample. I just wish it wasn't a card. And he's got a 6/6 trampler. That's all that is. 6/6 creature that tramples. Now, at this point, let's stop for a sec. Okay, kind of spoiled the surprise. But anyway, like I say, I was thinking about doing a 6-drop just because I thought there was maybe more chances of removal going on. And I kept the red open just because there's a lot of stuff that needs red. So I was just like, why not? Let's do a 6-drop just for the lulz. And now I get this Gold Knight Redeemer. Let's have a look at it. Which is, when it enters a battlefield, you gain 2 life for each other creature you control. Now, with all these Sand Warriors I've got, that puts me at 34 life, which is enough to flip this Rune-Tail Kitsune Ascendant. So that is now the essence of Rune-Tail. Rune-Tail's essence. So that prevents all damage that would be dealt to creatures I control. Good news means I can block for a while. You look over in the section over here, you can see this guy has a big frowny face. I tried to make a face back and it didn't work. So yeah, I decided I'm not going to attack. Of course, I'm actually just going to sit here, block for a little bit. I want to build up to an 8 drop because there are more things at 8 that solve this problem for me in the long term. This guy gets his own ebony rhino, so probably the most ebony rhinos that have ever been on a battlefield at one time. So I play my land. He says he has to leave, and hey, whatever. But like I say, this turned out kind of interesting, and it goes to show you that sometimes your highest drop isn't the right one. That's not to say I wouldn't have gotten anything good at 7, but 6 worked out pretty well for me there. It gave me the option to stabilize, and that let me dig to bigger drops. If he didn't get an answer anytime soon, I hypothetically could have curved up to something huge. But that's just the way it went. So good game, Sasha 24601. Hopefully we'll be able to finish the next one, and I look forward to it.